We are demanding an intervention to protect and rescue our youth from themselves and from endangering those around them, all because of them being exposed to violence. According to the Cedar House, a model for child abuse treatment program, abuse of any abuse in any form can leave residue of anger and feelings of aggression. If left unaddressed, they can lead to tragic consequences. Children exposed to violence can be affected in the most negative of ways and can endanger those around them. That is why I call for the community to push for more follow-up policies and to research different programs in their community. Today, I will talk to you and introduce two solutions that hold hope for change. My first is to push legislation. Doing this, people can go to their local officials or they can become lobbyists by joining different organizations. When pushing legislation for the human services, it's important because many of the children are not being represented well as far as the human services because human services has come to the understanding that reunification and keeping children in a home is more important than anything, and that is how they get their funding. So it is important that we make sure that these social workers are doing the best they can to get these children out of situations where they will they will continue to be exposed to violence. It is also important in looking for in the judicial system for pushing different legislation. As far as when children's cases are transferred to adult court, they're at a worse disadvantage because the adult court system is for adults, not for children. Children who end up in jail in adult prisons are left with many emotional scars and they can be raped and sexually abused. So we need for lawyers and attorneys to be better trained to cross-examine or to help children give testimony. As far as they need to be more gentle or not coerce them and make them upset or scare them even more into not being able to give testimony. According to the prosecuting juveniles in adult courts and an assessment for trends and consequences, this is very important. And according to the breaking of bonds of child abuse, the protection of children in such cases as custody battles or divorce battles for children, it's very hard for these children when their parents are being divorced. So it is important that attorneys and people of the law enforcement are better at helping the children to explain what's happening and getting them to better explain what they need and not trying to make them change their stories or anything or making them say things they don't want to say. It is also important as a legislation, as the nationwide, that according to the CDC and the PCAA, that we find a national definition for child neglect and child abuse because in different states they have different ways of defining things. Because in Missouri or California they may have child abuse as physically beating or not giving the child enough food or something like that, or neglect in some other states like Ohio might be just you don't educate them, you don't get them to school, or you don't have a stable home for them or something like that. So we need to have a national definition being very specific so that no child is left unsafe in an environment that they can't grow and prosper in. My second solution was that the people of the community need to get involved and support their local community programs. As far as volunteering, you can volunteer at shelters or any program that might have a women's abuse center or crisis centers or things like that. You can help by giving children, helping them and playing with them, and helping them to understand that someone does love them and does want to see them get better and doesn't want to hurt them. According to the Cedar House, which is another treatment program where they bring in adults and children and they do counseling, and they also have volunteers that can come in and play and talk with these children. And in the Cedar House, they have group therapy for adults and helping them to get more counseling with how they can, under stressful situations, not harm their child, or how they can talk and how they need to set rules for their children. So they shouldn't allow their child to throw things when they get upset. Or in child therapy where children go around in a circle of some sort, and they can tell their stories, how, something what's bothering them, or what they've been through, or, they can just tell little stories in a child environment where other children can understand them. And sometimes they might get into little arguments with children, but the therapists at the Cedar House, they help them to understand that being violent or being angry isn't the correct way to handle situations. That you can talk things out, or you can, or there's someone there to help you to better understand you. And also, the American Humane Association also has a program called the Front Porch Project, which helps people in the community to be more educated and gives them the tools to appropriately address or intervene into situations where they might see child abuse, or they might see delinquents in the street vandalizing something, and they can make reports that are more, because so many people are seeing violence and are not reporting it, or they're reporting it and they're being wrong, so they're helping them to understand exactly what violence is in the home, or what exactly they need to do to help the situation and not make things worse. And as far as when it comes to children who have been exposed to violence, it's best to help them to feel like they're not like it's not their fault, and it's not because of them this is happening, and that this isn't right that this is happening to them. They shouldn't be abused, or they shouldn't be neglected, and they shouldn't have to feel like their lives aren't important. To conclude, children exposed to violence is a very important issue. Today I have suggested 2 big solutions which give hope to the solution to the problem of children being exposed to different types of violence, whether it's domestic, whether it's school violence, or community violence. It's important. There are treatment programs for children, and these children need to be shown that they can also be loved and be understood. I hope you take that.